Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced, instructor at Greco Financial Trading, and you're listening to Mastering Financial Exams. Now, today what I want to talk about is municipal bonds. What are municipal bonds? Well, they're just bonds like you would see from a corporation or like a treasury from the federal government, except they're from states like New York State or Illinois State, or from towns like New York City or Chicago. And like any bond, they are used to raise money to do stuff. But there's different categories of municipal bonds. Now, municipal bonds generally have very low coupons relative to other bonds. But the reason is because the people who buy them are people with very high tax brackets, because they're exempt from federal income tax. And even better, they avoid state and local tax if you buy them from either a state that you live in or from a U.S. territory like a Puerto Rico or a Guam, and you avoid all taxes altogether. But they generally fall into one of two main categories. There's other types of municipal bonds, but there's two main categories. There is general obligation bonds. These are the bonds that are generally paid for by taxes. So these are things that fund things that are free to use. Think schools, roads, police department, fire department, parks. These are things that generally the general public doesn't pay to use, so they're funded through general taxation. And then there's revenue bonds. Now, revenue bonds are bonds that are pay for things that you do pay to use, such as a subway system, a toll road, a toll bridge. Think of like stadiums or public facilities that are leased out. So since they generate their own source of revenue, instead of that bond being paid off by taxes, it's paid off by the revenue from the project, which is why they're also referred to as like project bonds. So that's the main idea or the main thrust behind municipal bonds. But the thing about municipal bonds is that they're technically an exempt security, so they're not subject to most federal regulation. So in that case, what they had to do was kind of create a new regulatory body called the Municipal Securities Rulemaking Board, or the MSRB. And that's why there seems like there's two versions of every rule, because for most securities, FINRA will create a rule, but specifically for municipal securities, the MSRB will create a rule. And we'll talk more about the MSRB later on, but that's a quick foray into municipal bonds.